Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Eternia.com. I'm your host AJ, and today we're doing an unboxing and a mini review of the Masters of the Universe Origins, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon collection, Tri-Klops and Hordak figures. Now, I'm so excited to take a look at these today, especially Tri-Klops, because it's been over 40 years and we have yet to receive a proper Filmation version of Tri-Klops. And before you say it, AJ, what about Super 7? I realize Super 7 came out with the Club Grayskull Tri-Klops, and I love the Club Grayskull line, but I'm sorry, to me, that Tri-Klops was a disaster for two reasons. First, you couldn't turn the eyes. The eyes were literally stuck to the head. You had to heat it up or break it off to actually, use this action feature. And then the other issue was the color green. The green was so bright. It was blinding. You know what it reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of this tissue paper I have. Oh, it says eBay here. I mean, it was bright green. And I realized there were some arguments made that some of the animation models for Tri-Klops and some of the, animation cells showed Tri-Klops with a brighter green than what we saw actually on screen. But I'm sorry, it was never that bright. I mean, it looked like key lime pie. And I love key lime pie. And I love Tri-Klops. But I don't love key lime pie Tri-Klops. All right, so that's enough talking about Tri-Klops. We have Hordak too, by the way. Let's take a closer look at this packaging. So here is the packaging. We have the amazingly iconic He-Man and the Masters of the Universe logo, the Filmation Castle Grayskull with the Fire the Horde and Hordak's face in the back. And then the figures, the mini comics, and the cartoon collection logo. And as we turn them around and look at the card backs, we get to the good stuff. We get to the amazing artwork by artist Francisco Echart. And he always does this brilliant job, depicting scenes from the classic Filmation cartoon. And starting from the left, we have a scene from the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe episode called The Royal Cousin. Oh, there's the cousin there with the boomerang. I remember that. And there we have Tri-Klops holding, I guess that's the rock softener. It looks kind of small. He just got it in one hand. It looks more like a toaster. Toast, He-Man. And then to the right, we have, looky, lends a hand. This is such a great episode. It's one of my favorite episodes. I actually got to talk to the writer of this episode, Robert Lamb, on the For Eternia podcast. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. All right, moving to the rest of the card back, we have a description of the action feature and the rock softener and the time stop device. And then we have the wave itself, which, as we know, Cartoon Collection has been reduced from 4 figures to 3, and Manny Faces is the other figure in this wave, which we already reviewed, so be sure to check that out too. All right, so that's enough looking at the packages. Let's get these figures out of the bubbles and take a closer look. So here they are, Tri-Klops and Hordak out of the packaging and in 360 degrees. And my first impression is they look great, don't they? They really look like they jumped out of the cartoon and transformed into plastic. Now, at first glance, I am noticing some screen inaccuracies, though, unfortunately. When it comes to Tri-Klops, I think it's mostly in the head sculpt, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then with Hordak, I do think it's in the body. But first, starting with Tri-Klops, in regards to screen accuracy, in regards to the color green, I think this green is perfect. It's a happy medium between the lighter green we saw in the Filmation animation model of Tri-Klops and some of those animation cells, and the darker green that we saw on our TV screens. I think this green is great. Same thing with the other color choices here. The belt is spot on, the gauntlets, the boots, the long hair. Yeah, everything looks good. Now, in regards to sculpting, it looks good as well, right? This armor is sculpted perfectly, including the middle strap and this clasp in the middle. And same thing with the belt. In the cartoon, he had 3 rivets. Same thing with this belt on this figure. It's all looking good. The long hair in the back looks sculpted well, and the same thing with the back of the armor. Of course, we didn't see the clasp in this Filmation cartoon, but this was added for us, for collectors, so you can go ahead and remove his armor set. So we're A-okay with that. So in regards to Hordak and his body, he overall looks great. Let's start with his sculpting. His sculpting looks fantastic, right? With the bones here on his breastplate and his armor set, and the horde symbol, and the boots. Look at the boots, right? With the duck feet. He always had these quack, 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 and quacky duck feet. And he always had like spikes for heels. This looks all great. And the back of the armor set. And the bicep armor and the wrist gauntlets. Yeah, everything looks sculpted terrific. Oh, yeah, definitely. But the problem with the Hordak in regards to screen accuracy is paint application on the body and on that armor. So on this armor set here, under his arms, these straps are supposed to be gray, but they're black. So unfortunately, these are not completely accurate. No, that's a shame. And then on the boots, they're also missing some gray. You know, the bottom of his toes, right, or the tips of his toes, this should be gray. I can see a dividing line, like a sculpting line, like where the paint should have started. Yeah. So he definitely should have had gray on the toes, and he should have had a gray on his lower ankle, and he seems to be missing that, unfortunately. Oh, it looks like they didn't sculpt that little rivet that usually goes on his ankle. So it's not perfect in regards to paint application, you know, in regards to screen accuracy. But overall, I would love to see that. Maybe I'll do that myself. Oh, it looks like we got a little sloppy gray paint here as well. But overall, he's mostly screen accurate. I'm still very happy with him. Okay, so now that we looked at the body of Tri-Klops and Hordak, now let's take a closer look at their head sculpts. So here is the head sculpt of Tri-Klops. And, you know, starting with the, you know, from the nose down to the lips to the chin, I think they did a great job. You know, he always had this puss on his face, you know, and the way it would be this like little curvature in his cheeks. And yeah, I think he looks great. I really think they did a good job capturing that look that only a mother could love in the cartoon, you know. But the issues I have in regards to screen accuracy, one of them is just function, right? So this visor helmet that he wears in the cartoon was always held on by straps. You know, there'd be a green strap that comes down on one side of his face, underneath his chin, and around the other, and it holds it on his head. Makes sense, right? But if you actually look underneath his chin, there's no strap. The straps end on the side of his face. I mean, they look like they're just green sideburns, you know, Elvis sideburns. So I'm not sure what's going on there. And then my other issue is the eyes. Now, I'm good with two of the eyes here, but not the third one. So this is his normal seeing eye. I don't know if there's a name for this, but that looks great. Perhaps, you know, the iris and the pupil should be a tiny bit smaller. I'll give you that. But the way it curves on the top, you know, like an eyelid, yeah, that's completely accurate. Okay, so next up we have, oh, this is hard to turn. Okay, next up we have his disc division. And his disc division helps him see, you know, in great distances, obviously, right? And this looks good as well, you know, and the pupil and the iris is really the same size as his normal view. He's got the eyelid on top. Okay, everything is looking good there. But then when we get to the third one, you know, this one I believe is his gamma vision. And he could like see through rocks and stuff. This eye, the iris and the pupil seem a lot smaller, you know. In the actual cartoon, they all felt like they were the same size eyes, pretty much. They just had different shapes. But here, this division one, this triangle, feels like it belongs on a smaller figure, you know, in comparison to the other eyes. So it kind of feels out of place. It feels like it needed to be a little bit bigger. So, yeah, it's a little frustrating. So now we move to Hordak, and this head sculpt just looks fantastic, you know. Starting with the mohawk, yep, this is right, the 1, 2, 3 points. I love this. Yeah, the long ears, the red eyes surrounded by black, even the teeth. Look at that, the red teeth. Doesn't it look great? Look at that. You know, in the cartoon, he only had the teeth in the top, you know, the fang and the 4 teeth in the middle, except usually I think the teeth was connected. Yeah. So they actually didn't have to do that work to paint the teeth separately if they're being cartoon accurate. But the lines in the face, yeah, everything with Hordak, yeah, looks pretty terrific here. Yeah, this is a well done face sculpt. So in regards to accessories, each figure comes with their own artifact. Tri-Klops comes with the rock softener, and Hordak comes with the time stop device. And starting with the rock softener, it looks pretty screen accurate. There was definitely red dials on each side, and from the front here, that's where the rock softener ray would shoot out. But if I remember correctly, these handles were not seen on screen. I guess Mattel added these handles so the figure can actually hold it. But for me personally, at least, I rather have it be screen accurate and this not have those handles. And the same thing goes with the time stop device. If you watch Loki Lends a Hand, it's a great episode. He-Man's in it. And to see He-Man and She-Ra struggle against this device, it's fantastic. It's a menacing device. And it didn't have this like handlebar for someone to hold. It's not really like an accessory or a weapon that someone needs to wield. So I really would rather have had this off the time stop device. But otherwise, it's sculpted nicely. I like the little Horde emblem here. The only thing I think is missing is these little circles. Should have been painted black. But other than that, yeah, it looks good. So both figures came with the Slime Lord Part 2 of Horde Invasion mini comic, and I already really looked at this in our Many Faces review, so I'm not going to look at it again. And in regards to articulation, like I said, with most cartoon collection figures, nothing to see here, folks. It's just the standard articulation you would get in these figures. However, I do want to mention that Hordak, you're going to have limited articulation, of course, in the head, right? But while limited, it's surprisingly not extremely limited. He can still look to some degree up and some degree down, and he can turn his head side to side. Check that out. So what do I think of the Masters of the Universe Origins Tri-Klops and Hordak Cartoon Collection figures? Overall, I adore them. Look, I love the Cartoon Collection line, and these two figures reinforce that love, thankfully. You know, of course, I do have some screen accuracy issues with both of these figures. With Hordak, it's a lot of the paint color choices in regards to the armor set, and on the boots, we're missing a lot of gray. And with Tri-Klops, it's more sculpting. You know, I wish the strap went underneath the neck, and I wish that vision visor was a little better sculpted in regards to the size of the eyes. But still, overall, these figures are the spitting image, mostly, of what I saw on screen in the 80s. And I'm so happy to have them, you know. And especially in regards to Tri-Klops, because in Hordak, we've received pretty nice Filmation renditions of Hordak in action figure form before. But this was a long time coming in regards to Tri-Klops, and I'm so glad we have them now. So that's it. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.